Adoption and integration of these systems has increased unit effectiveness. It's great for mitigating risk to personnel because, again, it allows you that lateral offset from threats. It helps you coordinate and communicate between ground elements. And as we've seen recently overseas in Ukraine, these systems are being used for both direct engagement as well as logistics support roles on the battlefield.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 431. How are small unmanned aerial systems transforming modern military tactics? For that question, we head to Boise, Idaho, to speak with Dylan Hamm, Chief Technology Officer at PDW. PDW is a cutting-edge drone technology company revolutionizing small robotics for military and government operations. Their mission is to democratize air support, empowering and protecting those who serve. PDW produces air vehicles, autonomous and AI software, as well as countermeasures in areas like electronic warfare, communications, and GPS denial. Their flagship product, the C100 Small UAS, is a versatile quadcopter designed to fit inside a warfighter's rucksack, providing personal air support on the front line. As the CTO of PDW, Dylan leads the company's product roadmap and R&D strategy. With 12 years of experience in special forces and 8 global deployments, Dylan has witnessed the transformative power of small UAS systems in real-time combat scenarios. Toward the end of his military career, he saw firsthand how these systems were reshaping modern warfare, fueling his passion for exploring their full potential. In this episode of the Drone Radio Show, Dylan shares insights into PDW's mission, the ways small drones are changing the battlefield, and the innovative tactics and technologies being developed to counter drone threats. But before we dive into the conversation with Dylan, I want to take a moment to thank you for your continued support. Every episode is crafted with you in mind, and your generous donations are what make this podcast possible. Whether it's the cost of a coffee or a larger contribution, your support helps cover the production costs and keeps it going. Donate today and be a vital part of the podcast's continued journey to greatness. And for a limited time, if you donate $100 or more, you'll receive an official Drone Radio Show coffee mug as a thank you gift. To donate, head over to droneradioshow.com/donate. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave a rating and review on iTunes. It really helps improve the visibility among the thousands of active podcasts today. And if you've got a great drone story to share, I'd love to hear from you. Contact me at randy@droneradioshow.com. And lastly, as many of you know, I live in the Tampa Bay area, which is now recovering from Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Myself and my property made it through the storms okay, and I appreciate the messages of support from many of you. It is an extremely humbling experience to see how quickly lives and a community can change when a hurricane strikes. So again, your support means a great deal. Now let's hear how Small UAS is transforming military tactics with Dylan Hamm from PDW. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Dylan to introduce himself.
My name is Dylan Hamm. I am the CTO at PDW. My background includes design, development, and deployment of small robotic systems for tactical applications. My prior experience with over 12 years active duty in naval special warfare provided me with the opportunity to explore use cases in unmanned systems, develop new capabilities, payloads, complete systems, and then go ahead and utilize those both in training as well as real-world operations.
Dylan, Tell us about PDW. What does the company do, and what's its core mission?
PDW develops integrated unmanned systems for high-risk, no-fail environments. Our products include robotic vehicles like C-100, payloads, autonomy, agile communications, as well as application software. The team is comprised of a mix of talented engineers with over a decade of experience designing high-performance drones back from the DRL days, as well as military veterans and industry experts across the disciplines of aviation, production, as well as systems design.
PDW originally started out in drone racing and is now supporting the military. Can you walk us through how that transition occurred?
It is an interesting linkage there. Interesting enough, the transition from high performance live drone racing to high risk defense applications is not as big as you might think. It's all the same core needs. So you've got a simple to use, reliable system. That need is shared across both those bases. Our team, they bring that passion and experience from DRL, and they take that expertise in robotics design to the task of supporting warfighters and emergency responders. I think it all started back in early 2020 with outreach from DoD looking for training support, as that exploration was taking place into what these multi-rotor quadcopter systems could do. And from there, the core team, the founders, identified that need for this type of technology development to be kind of industrialized and brought over into the defense sector.
Is the company still involved in drone racing today?
No, PDW is completely separate.
What sets PDW apart when it comes to providing military support?
So we're unique in a couple of different ways. In terms of differentiation from our competitors, we're a very small team. We're just over 100 folks, including production, sales, and support. So we still maintain that agility, as well as bringing that domain expertise with multi-rotor design. And we also have a lot of industry experts. We've got defense veterans on the team from pretty much every branch of service who understand both customer needs, customer applications, and then we take all that to determine how to design a single platform that provides as much utility as possible.
In my research, I came across the phrase, the world's most mission versatile UAS, in reference to your product. Could you explain what that means?
Yeah, so our C-100, our flagship product, it's a long endurance, heavy lift, multi-mission quadcopter. This entire system can be folded up and transported by one person, being redeployable in under 5 minutes by that same operator. This is a Group 2 platform. The drone itself weighs about 21 pounds with a max gross takeoff weight when carrying payloads of 31 pounds. So that offers, 10 pounds of payload latitude there to deploy different types of sensors or kit to support different types of mission sets. Some of these payloads that we include with our platform include EO/IR sensor packages. We've got things like the Next Vision Raptor, Trillium HD40, as well as the Leonardo DRS Stag 5 family of sensors. So whatever camera type the customer wants to put on for their given use case, whether it's inspection or defense, it's a quick tool swap, plug it into either the forward or central payload bay, and they're up and running within a couple of minutes. For payload delivery, which is kind of really expanding opportunity within different customer groups, we developed the MRD. That's the mechanical release device. This allows dual channel actuation of releasable payloads. We've had folks doing this for resupply. We've tried PFDs, personal flotation devices. Really, any application we're happy to explore with customers and how they can utilize this to support their daily job. The C-100 itself, as an airframe, provides modular interfaces. So we have 3 direct connection points under the aircraft to support those user-defined payloads. And again, what really makes our system mission versatile is the ability for customers to take the platform and deploy different types of, conduct different types of work with it. So take the payload they need and go address the system to do that.
Now, your UAS is designed to be carried by one person. Is it meant to support an individual unit in the field, or is it more of assisting a group mission?
So this being a Group 2 platform, there's different sizes of platforms. I'll kind of take a step back and cover those. So the way the Army characterizes it, they have SRR, MRR, and LRR. So it's short-range reconnaissance, mid-range reconnaissance, and long-range reconnaissance. And the way they bin those out is into different unit sizes. So for the C-100 being that Group 2 system, this is a company-level asset. So they're looking at 60-plus people basically sharing this distributed platform to support their maneuver elements.
How has the evolution of UAS technology changed military tactics and strategy?
They've changed quite a bit. So we've had UAS within the DoD forever. But over the past 8 years, kind of as these commercial technologies, including radios, cameras, and flight control hardware, as those have shrunk down, become more compact and lower cost, we've really started to see that disruption. I think it really started back in 2015, 2016, when we started seeing multi-rotor systems and kind of low-cost, attritable systems being deployed within military tactics. Adoption and integration of these systems has increased unit effectiveness. It's great for mitigating risk to personnel because, again, it allows you that lateral offset from threats. It helps you coordinate and communicate between ground elements. And as we've seen recently overseas in Ukraine, these systems are being used for both direct engagement as well as logistics support roles on the battlefield.
The advantages of UAS in the field are clear, but our adversaries also have access to similar technology. How are troops defending against enemy UAS in real-world situations?
Yeah, so from a defensive standpoint, planners have to account for kind of an entirely new dimension and volume of threats in their environment. Historically, you might have a couple manned assets that you can track by radar, but now you have the potential for tens or dozens of unmanned assets within your vicinity and with the agility to maneuver around your elements. So many new systems are needed to both detect, deny, and protect forces against those threats.
Can you give us some examples of how it has affected strategy and tactics? Say, for example, trench warfare.
It's changed it quite a bit, both in the coordination between the drones, because again, they provide that additional situational awareness to where they can really characterize and pinpoint what's going on within that trench line. But really, it kind of comes down to the level of integration within military units. So as we were seeing kind of overseas and with other elements, several years ago, UAS were used to augment those conventional tactics. So they would take that textbook tactic to assault a trench or clear a trench, and they would provide overwatch with the drones to kind of help coordinate defensive or offensive movements. As time has gone on, over the past 2-3 years, unique applications are emerging into entirely new tactics. So folks are figuring out ways to implement these systems that nobody thought of before. Quadcopters are now being utilized overseas for disruption of logistics pathways, going behind enemy lines and laying anti-vehicle mines. They're doing infrastructure attacks as well as replacing humans at the front of maneuver elements.
So UAS technology is no longer just for surveillance. It's now actively involved in carrying out missions.
Certainly. So, we're trying to do a bunch of things. We're trying to kind of please the customer's requirements, which are expanding again because we see the multitude of ways in which these systems are being deployed. So we have to design our system to support things like reconnaissance, surveillance, target acquisition, comms relay, kinetic or non-kinetic payload delivery. All of those are charters for our platform. But we also have to function in a contested environment. So primarily what we see in any environment is jammers. So RF jammers being utilized to disrupt that command and control link, to disrupt the video throughput, because if you don't have video or control of your drone, that asset suddenly is no longer usable for you. So on the C100, we have the benefit of being able to choose the subsystems that go into our platform. So we leverage a frequency agile radio that Doodle Labs makes called the Helix. And this has a feature called Doodle Sense, and that allows our platform to dynamically avoid interference in these types of situations.
I recently interviewed Doodle Labs, and they seem to be at the forefront of UAS technology.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work towards that, and they've had great success.
What lessons have we learned so far from the use of drones in the Ukraine conflict?
So, generally, Ukraine has demonstrated, the disruptive capacity of these systems. They were early adopters. They integrated this tech into their tactics, and they really leaned forward and invested in innovation, and it paid off big time. Through their use of these systems, they've been able to deny, degrade, and disrupt Russian offensive efforts. They've actually had so much success that earlier this year, I think around June, they created the Unmanned Systems Forces, which is an entirely new branch in the military. So they are all in on drones because of the effects that they're able to provide.
Are the drones that are being used in military operations typically small, like quadcopters, or are we seeing larger systems with significant firepower?
They use a little bit of everything. So they range from, consumer off-the-shelf things like those DJI platforms for ISR missions. And they then really this year have worked on the FPV or the first-person view kinetic effects drones. So they basically take munitions and fly them into targets. That's how they're disrupting a lot of enemy armor. But then they also have larger platforms. So they have platforms, even bigger than C-100 that can carry large payloads to go place those mines behind enemy lines or to deploy different types of payloads, conduct resupply. So they have a wide range within their fleet.
How would you assess the U.S.'s readiness in the realm of small UAS military applications, both from a defensive and offensive standpoint? How do we compare to what's happening globally?
So we've actually been doing quite well. The U.S. military has been using small unmanned systems for a long time. So, back in 2011, I remember utilizing things like the Raven or other small unmanned systems for ISR. So we're not new to this. I think what we're doing right now is we're trying to incorporate the latest and greatest technologies, and those are driving changes in tactics. And programs are actually doing a really good job of updating their requirements based off of this. They no longer view systems as an air vehicle. They are now a complete system that can leverage different types of capabilities. So they're putting that in the right direction. All those programs I mentioned earlier, SRR, MRR, LRR, they're driving towards that mission charter set. So whether they're procuring direct fire systems like the Switchblade that's been around for a long time, small ISR platforms like the Teal-2, or multi-mission workhorses like C-100, they're ensuring that it's prepared for that next ridgeline, both in protecting American service members as well as bringing the fight to the enemy.
Given how fast the technology changes, do procurement requirements for UAS remain flexible enough to adapt to new applications and challenges?
Yeah, it's funny. Nimble is a relative term when dealing with the DoD or the government in general. So historically, these programs took a very long time. The acquisition cycle was so slow that by the time they actually got things fielded, that technology was old. So the DoD's been making huge efforts over the past few years. They've got a lot of functional things in place now to reduce that acquisition timeline. So for these things, they took something that used to take 18 months to procure, and they're getting units fielded within the first 6 to 9 months. And they are taking those expansive requirements to give themselves that latitude to further develop the tech as it grows.
Looking ahead, what's the future of small UAS in military conflicts? How do you see this technology shaping future strategies?
It's not slowing down. The unmanned systems, especially multi-rotor systems, they provide extreme precision, agility, and that freedom of maneuver, unlike anything else in the battlefield. Because this is a tradable or sometimes consumable asset that you can afford to go put in harm's way. So leveraging that capability to do complex, high-risk tasks, it's going to continue to offer pathways for folks to innovate for the next decade at least. And as kind of the other technologies develop, like edge compute modules, computer vision, AI on the edge, things of that nature are going to add layers and layers upon this capability.
As the technology advances further, how do you think it will impact planning for ground maneuvers and the overall military operations?
We're going to have to adapt based on context. So, the best plan never survives first contact. So as the enemy or adversaries come up with different ways to employ these systems, we're going to have to be agile and adjust. And again, we're going to find good ways to leverage this technology, whether for defense or offense, to disrupt enemy tactics.
With all the changes and challenges we've discussed, how does PDW stay ahead and continue to serve the U.S. military and its allies effectively?
Yeah, so we view our platform as a system. So again, it's not just an air vehicle. So the emphasis there within our design is on modularity and interoperability. So that allows the U.S. and allies to explore, develop, and refine those new tactics as this progresses. Again, because we support different types of payloads, we really try and simplify this as much as possible for customers. So once we identify a type of payload, whether it's a mechanical release device or a sensor payload, we want to make that, a 3-minute task to take off this payload, insert the next one, plug it in, and have that operator up and functional with the least amount of training required.
PDW is a Blue UAS company. For those that might not be familiar, could you briefly explain what that means and why it's important?
The Blue UAS process is initiated by DIU, the Defense Innovation Unit, and it's kind of a vetting process for vendors that have platforms they're trying to sell to DoD or just to the government in general. And what happens when you go through this is you go do demonstrations, you turn over technical documentation, engineering samples, and then they'll do things like bill of materials teardown to make sure that your country of origin on any critical components are adhering to the NDAA Section 848. They'll do cyber vulnerability assessments and things of that nature to make sure that once you get on the Blue UAS list, you kind of have that stamp of approval that your platform has been screened, vetted, and is approved for use.
Besides drones, does PDW produce other systems or technologies for military use?
Our C100 is our primary product. That's our flagship. That's the multi-rotor quadcopter. We're also doing a development with SOCOM for the Blackwave radio, which is, again, a jamming environment type radio that offers frequency agility. And then we've got a lot of other things working in the background, but those are our two core things that we're working on right now.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
It's been a really exciting year for this, for PDW. This year we've captured multiple government contracts. Most recently, we were selected by the U.S. Army for Tranche 1 of its company-level SUAS direct requirements. And that interest is, allowing us to interface with customers in the dual-use sector. So folks looking to utilize this drone for emergency response, conducting area surveys, delivering life-saving equipment. So it's a very exciting time for us.
Dylan, what do you like most about the work you do at PDW?
I like a lot of things about it. So I got into drone design and development because this was a way for me to support different types of missions I was trying to do when I was in active duty. So how do we mitigate risk? How do we still conduct these operations in extremely hostile environments while ensuring mission success? So taking that and then facing the obvious technical challenges of integrating different types of payloads and things, it's fun. It's fun to do every day. And working with this team is inspiring. Everybody's very mission focused and happy to be out there supporting American warfighters.
From a risk perspective, what keeps you up at night?
It's a very dynamic space. We were talking about RF jamming and RF denial and things of that nature. So you have to stay on top of it. You have to understand what's going on, monitoring open source intelligence to see how other people are facing these challenges, how they're deploying jamming tactics, because that's going to influence the trajectory that we take in designing our future products and in choosing those subsystems that we integrate into our platforms.
And for my final question, Dylan, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of the drone industry?
UAS, they're having a huge impact on the defense tech sector. This is offering, incredible opportunities for new businesses, great opportunities for individuals with that passion for technology. These market opportunities, the investment opportunities, they're just going to continue to grow. We really welcome the competition because it drives innovation, and that's what keeps us excited about doing this job. So it's going to be real exciting in the future, and we're honored to be on this journey with you all.
That's it for episode 431 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Dylan Hamm of PDW. I want to thank Dylan for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about PDW or want to connect with Dylan, check out the webpage at pdw.ai. If you like the Drone Radio Show, then please subscribe and share. Write a glowing review on iTunes. And if you're able, donate to keep the podcast going. Go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.